Is everybody? Were we here? Hello?
Hello.
Hello. Can't
Hello.
tell. Hello. I always have to every episode starts with me going on my phone to seeing if the live stream actually worked,
I see.
which
Should
is
we help
not that
you?
great for content.
We're looking for another technician, right? So this is our call out.
We need another technician. This is literally you guys spending 2 minutes every episode watching me see if it works. Maybe.
Are people watching this?
Well,
Okay,
they
the
can't
official
if
word
I,
isn't technician. It's not technician. It's you're looking for a producer, right?
Yes, that is the correct terminology.
Which sounds more scary than a technician.
All right, I can confirm from hearing the echo in the other room of Janina watching this that we are live.
Okay. Hi, Janina.
So welcome everyone to another family gatherings. We're very homey and unserious here, but we have a fresh face. So Reverend Doug is back, even though he's supposed to be in a different meeting. He's very busy to book him down. And we have Joanne for the first time this season.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks. I have been studying. Normally at Wednesday nights, I would be in class. So I finished my first semester, and so now I am not in class on Wednesdays nights and can join you guys for these chats.
Nice. What were you studying?
Wednesday nights, my class was Introduction to Business Law. So if anyone has questions about business law, don't ask me.
Because you did the introduction.
Yes, I only did the introduction. I'm not reliable, but it was a very enjoyable class, 5-star rating if anyone's interested or curious. And it was very interesting to learn about my rights as a Canadian and a lot of things that I think I take for granted just as a general citizen of Canada. So it made me appreciate living in this place, and it was good learning as just as an adult. So
You also did very well in it, didn't you?
I did.
But we should ask her legal questions.
I am very proud that I got the highest grade in the class, and I was like, haha, take it, you 20-year-olds that are young and have and are not tired out like I am.
That might be our entire audience.
Sorry. Whatever.
No,
When we get to talking
when
about the
we were
running
talking
part,
about it though. Sorry, I keep cutting you off.
it's okay.
No, when you're talking about it, it's because you're going back to school and you're saying going back to school, you have such purpose, and that really made a difference.
Oh,
This time around.
yes, I did. Because I knew why I'm doing this, and I'm not just exploring or figuring things out. So it was easier to engage in that way. Yep.
Okay, so to provide some context for everyone, are you let's peel it back a little bit, because I know we're jumping in halfway, and obviously Reverend Doug, Joanne, and I we talk a lot. What are you doing? Are you going to law school? What is this? You saw an episode of Suits, you got inspired?
Also, no. I am working on my Bachelor of Business Administration. So for a very, very long time now, I have had a career in marketing, started off in graphic design, but I don't have a full bachelor's. And so for the leadership roles that I have been taking, it is helpful to have that piece of paper, that qualification. So I decided to go back and do something challenging and hard, and I regret it all the time, but then also I'm encouraged that I thought I wouldn't survive this, and then I do okay. So I think that plays into what
Thriving.
Thriving is generous, but it has been a season of this was hard, or I expected this to be hard, and it is hard, but it's okay. And a lot of that is thanks to the support that I have in this community and in my family and stuff like that too, and by my animals. But it's been a challenging and interesting season in my life of returning to school as a mature student. That's the
They can't say old student. They
No.
got you're mature.
Yeah, that just means that I pay the same tuition but don't qualify for any of the benefits, because a lot of the like student discounts, they live cap it at age 25. I'm like,
The
fine.
age cap discounts?
Yeah. Anyway, so
You pay the old person price for French fries.
yeah. Yep. So
That's crazy. I just got a ping from Janita saying that Kopi, my dog, is growling at the TV at your cat.
oh no. But Kopi, you met him. You're friends. Maybe he
doesn't like it this moment. But okay, I digress. I want as I hinted to on WhatsApp for those that are following along with our announcements. I wanted to spend this month focusing on our conversation on running, because both of you somehow found yourselves in races this month. One of them was unplanned, and the other one you very much planned for it. Before I want to jump into that, though, like one of the things that was really interesting was when I told you, both of you separately, that I wanted to focus this month on running. Both of you said the exact same thing. Do you guys remember what you said?
Something along the lines of, aren't we supposed to talk about what happens in our leadership meeting or something?
Yeah. You said I thought this was supposed to be about church ministry, and
Right.
then I responded really smart alecky and said, "Well, you are the church."
yes.
Yes, and
then I never responded afterwards.
Yeah, you just left me on red after that. We're done here. So like the reason that I'm kind of giving this preface to anybody that's watching out there right now is because what I find really most interesting about ministry is it's not about just programs, events, meetings. We do all those things, and we're going to end up talking about those things somehow as well. But it's also about being invested in each other's lives, right? So that means the different things that we have going on outside of the Sunday services and the times that we meet in the church walls as well. And those are the times that, and now I end up like, sounding a little preachy, but those are the times that I really feel like we see glimpses of our Creator kind of interwoven in those stories, whether we're students or parents, or in this case, athletes. All right.
Wow. Athlete.
Yes. If you run, you are an athlete. And if you have legs, you can run. All right. Even if you don't, we'll get into that later. So with all that being said, how did we end up here? Let's start with Joe. Like, you just did a race for the first time in years. What happened?
Congratulations.
Thanks. I didn't think I would survive it. So what happened? How do I start talking about how I got roped into the run?
I whatever way you want to take it.
Okay. I recently did the sun run. I did not plan on doing the sun run. Earlier this year in January, I went to go cheer on Victor, Sam, Doug, and Gwen at their, what was it that you guys did? I should know.
It's a cold run. It's called the first half.
The first half.
Okay. Yeah, and they were there super early. It was snowy, it was cold. Even as a bystander, I was like, whoa, why are we here? And I was thinking, I don't know how they are doing this run right now. And I just wanted to be there to cheer, and because it's difficult, and I was why would anyone do this, but I will cheer you on because you are doing something crazy. But actually seeing you guys struggle but also work through the struggle, like Sam, you were sick the day before. I think you were still sick at the time. We're trying to fight it off, and
I think I got more sick.
Yeah,
as a race
probably. But I was somehow, that was really encouraging and made me think that maybe this is a good discipline to. Also, Doug talks a lot about running in your sermons too, and parallel to also so does.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, but it eventually I think all those messages added up to maybe I can try running as I don't know. I just thought lightly, but that it's something to do. And my work has a run fundraiser in September. So I arbitrarily set the goal of doing 10K in an hour as my goal to try and achieve by September. And then Simon messaged me on Friday, 2 days before the Sun Run, and said, "Hey, I have a free bib. Would you like to come run?" Because Simon is also part of the run club people, and he has the same goal, but he was gonna do it by the Sun Run, and so he invited me.
Simon been training for a little bit.
Well, yes, he had been training for the Sun Run, and then was like, "Hey, you should come and see how you do, and it's free." And somehow I was like, "Oh, maybe." But this is also on the same weekend or same week that I had already played 12 hours of volleyball and was doing a 10K hike on the Saturday. So I thought, doing the Sun Run, I'm not going to survive it, but what the heck? And I went anyway. I don't think that was wise, but I did survive, and it was great. I ended up, it's now a fond memory, I think.
Core memory. One time I did this.
Yes, one time I did this. It was really, it turned out to be a good, it was really encouraging, and it made, like, I mean, you guys will probably talk about it more, but like all the people in the city that come out and cheer, all the strangers, and just I don't know, it was hard, but it also was an enjoyable hard. So
it's a weird sensation, right?
Once you survive it, it's like, wow, but during, you regret it the entire time, the entire 10K. Every single photo of me from the run is like you can see it on my face that I'm thinking, why? So anyways, not to be dramatic or anything.
No,
but it's accurate though.
Yeah, it's pretty accurate. So. Cool. We're gonna come back to the actual races in a bit, but I'm gonna jump over to Doug because I know Doug's been running for a while, and in some ways I feel like whether it's through the sermons or just we just end up hanging out and we're like, let's go do something healthy for a change. Like you've inspired a bunch of people to start running in their own ways in some ways. But what was your kind of origin story like? Like how did you pick this thing up? And I know it wasn't just yourself either.
Yeah. I never considered myself a runner. Like growing up, I did play sports, but the most running I did was, I don't know if this is standard across all high schools, but there's that 6 laps, like 2.4K PE test for us in our school. No. It's 6 laps. Like we ran it twice a year, once in the beginning of the school year and then once at the end. It was 6 laps around the track, 2.4K. And then, anyway, so that was the most running I ever did. Like in high school, and after university, the freshman 10 or 20 or 25 was very real. Like, so I didn't do much exercise then. But how I started running, I can't remember the year. I think it was 20. I'm going to say 17. It was the Run for H2O. Our church was participating in it. It was a 10K fundraiser run.
Oh,
I didn't. 2018? Okay, it was 2018.
That was the one and only run I've done. Yeah.
There we go. I didn't train for it really. Like, I mean, I ran a few times, but nothing serious. But it was during the run where I was like, this is really hard. I was like, I really feel uncomfortable. It's really painful. And I was trying to chase the next person in front of me, and he was more elderly. He probably was a senior citizen, I'm pretty sure. So he was in the distance. I was following him on the trail. I'm like, okay, let's just at least catch up to him, right? And I couldn't catch him. And that was for most of the race. And he just disappeared near the end. So he really picked it up. So anyway, it was after that where it was running for a good cause. It was a fundraiser, raising money for wells. But I just realized during that run that there's more to running than just running. Like this, it may seem simple in the end. I knew it's tough physically, but to actually run it, I'm like, there's something more to it, right? And then the more to it was like, hey, as you read into it, there's the technique, there's the training, there's the plan, there's the nutrition, there's the all the things that come with it, like who you're running with, the purpose of your run, and all that. So that's how I really started. So that was a glimpse. It was how I started, and it was a humbling moment. Right. So after that, I was like, okay, let's sign up for another 10K. And I think it might have been the East Side 10K in the fall, the one that starts in Gastown and then out to Hastings and back. And then that was my first time seeing the elites run. Right, so I show up. I'm like, who are these guys barely wearing anything? Like that is like running around. It's freezing.
And they do warm-ups, right? Like they run before the run.
Yeah, they run 15K to run 10K. Like that's the that's what I see. No, I'm making that up. But it's right. And then to see them finish at 10K in like 30 minutes, and you're like, what? And to see them live, because in the East Side 10K, it's out and back. So you pass them. So before I'm even halfway, they're on the way back already, and you realize how fast they're going.
And the breeze as they run by.
Yeah. Who is that coming up? So anyway, so that's how I really started running. And yeah, all the events I signed up for was because it needed a goal. Like I was running on the side, but it's different when you're training for something. Like when there's really a goal and an event and kind of a deadline almost. Like there's the event in 10 weeks, 15, 16 weeks, like 20 weeks. Then you can prepare yourself in that way. Anyway, the running story started with a humbling moment of trying to chase a senior citizen. That's the that's the point of the story.
What's weird is I don't think you and I have talked about this, but I was also at that race and I also did not train, and I had my own humbling moment in that I wasn't thinking I was going to go in very fast or get first place or anything like that, right? Like it was just finish it. It's good cause, whatever. But then I'd never run 10K in my memory. So when I ran it, I got a stress fracture in my foot. And I don't really know what a stress fracture is. And it hurt 3 weeks. Like 3 weeks later, I was still hurting from the 10K that I did. And then when we got an x-ray, they said, there's nothing on the x-ray. It's probably a stress fracture. I'm like, what's a stress fracture? And they told me it's something that makes you feel like a fracture from all the stress you took on your foot, but it's not, no bone is broken. So I was so out of shape that I stressed my foot to the point they thought I was broken.
Or you're more serious than I. That's the...
No, I was not more serious. So I also did not catch the elderly man.
Guys, I'm pretty sure I was the second last or the last person to finish the 10K at that run for H2O. So I also did not train. So that's what we're learning.
That was such an inspiring race. It made us reflect our life decisions.
Yeah.
So like on that note, one of you had 48 hours notice for the race, and then Doug, I believe you trained you had like a 4-month plan or something like that, right?
Yeah, I had it's not 4 months. I had 2 12-week plans, so 24 weeks.
24 weeks.
Because we ran we ran the first half, so I had a 12-week plan up to the first half, and then I used that to slingshot to the marathon. I have some thoughts. It might have been too long. I was getting kind of tired.
So both the training and, in your case, Joanne, not training and jumping right in, like, what did you learn about yourself from the race?
I'm not sure that I learned a lot about myself necessarily, other than maybe that I can do more than I think.
Yeah.
There's that part, but if anything, okay, in general in running, but I think through that race was like, okay, I can do more than I think. And also just running has really made me appreciate the discipline that is involved. And it's like, I've said this a lot recently, but at no point ever when I'm running anytime am I like, this is fun or this is enjoyable or this is comfortable.
Did you get a it's not that bad? Did you ever think that thought? That's the best thought I can have during a run. It's not that bad right now.
During a run, no. It's always after that I'm like, oh, I think that was okay, like tolerable. But never during. During it always is awful. I haven't reached that high yet. Yeah, but actually I think one of the biggest takeaways is how important community is to doing hard things. Because although I would not have started running or could not have continued running, I think if I if there wasn't you guys and the people at LLC, the running group, who like encourages and sends me random shoe recommendations or like run plans and like things like that or cheers me on, of like, I think there's one week where I was like, I ran for 15 minutes. Does that count? And it was like, any progress, any step forward counts. And it was like having just a community to support and encourage really made a difference. Seeing like, so even on race day, when there were all these strangers that took time out of their day to come cheer on these other strangers, it was like that encouragement. I think that really translates to our faith walk, faith run as well, and that journey of, it really makes a difference when we show up for one another. And as little as saying, hey, it was really good to see you this Sunday, like that noticing, I think that you never know how much that could encourage someone in the long run.
What about you, Doug?
I have a lot of thoughts, but I'm trying to make it concise. I think I kind of mentioned it a little bit. I've learned with myself that I really do need a goal. Like there's got to be a purpose to the running. So why I mentioned running, I never really ran before. Or even growing up, like playing sports, there was a reason for the training, right? So the reason why I'm running, working on cardio, lifting weights, like there's all a purpose to it. But right after that, when there wasn't any competition, or there's no difference, actually. There's no difference between I worked out or not. And my own pride wasn't enough. It wasn't just because I want to be healthy or I want to be in shape. Like that wasn't enough of a reason for me then, right? So I think something I learned with myself is how having a goal is helpful for me in my training and the purpose that I have in my living, and reflecting that in the Christian faith. I feel like when we have faith, it's kind of just constantly going, right? We know one day, when we'll be with God forever, but that's like kind of a really far out kind of thing where it's not realized, and it's not really a goal that we set. Is this something that's just going to happen one day that we kind of just transition into? But it's helped me to see, well, no, like what if I do think about it as a goal? Like Jesus is the finish line, right? Like he is the goal. And one day we will see him, and that is the purpose of our living. And how then, if that is the goal, how does my goal reflect the way that I train and the way that I live here? So another thing is about the pain aspect of how I realized the more with the training actually increases my threshold for pain. So that's been an interesting thing. And I was reading a blog, or was it watching a video? I can't remember, but it was something about how in your training, if you don't train and simulate as best as you can what it's going to feel like on race day, then on race day, you're going to feel like you're going to crumble. You can't make it psychologically, right? Like, because your body hasn't felt that pain before and you're like, I can't do it. There's another Olympian that I follow, and he mentioned something about how when he's really in pain in the race, he reminds himself that it's just another Sunday. So for him, it's just another long run, right? Where he's faced it before. So I was thinking about this, like in my own Christian walk, like, like what does pain in the Christian walk look like? What does struggle look like? What does, right, like the grind look like in the Christian walk? And I wonder how we would live our faith out differently during those really painful, real struggle moments if we struggled a bit before and we allowed our stress, allowed our spiritual bodies to be stressed a little bit, but not to the point of stress fractures, right? like it's the balance, right? Like knowing how to push yourself and knowing like when to
knowing
stop
your
and,
limits is part of
knowing your limits, like, right, the training, like for example, those elite guys I was talking about running the 10K, they run in 30 minutes. Like if I run on my first race ever, I'm like, I'm gonna run a 30-minute, like that's good thinking and good passion on you, but at the same time it's like
not realistic.
It's not realistic. And here's the thing, like a lot of times why so for example, like the 30-minute 10K, right, they've never actually ran that fast before, maybe like in the race, in their practices and their training, but they felt the same pain. But on those race days, the adrenaline, the crowd, right? Like the mindset of like, okay, this is it. Like it pushes them that much further. And I think that that really, that's what my third point. What I've learned is how amazing God has created human beings to be. That's kind of what I thought, right? Just like how our bodies are, how we're made, how creative we can be, like how much we can actually handle. Like that's something I keep learning as I'm running. Yeah, so here I am, right? Like I'm kind of saying a guy that couldn't chase. I probably still can't chase that senior citizen. I don't know how he's pretty fast, right? But then I'm further now than I was then, and I think that reminds me in the Christian faith how we all have our own walks. Really, like the finish line is the goal. It's not really how fast we get there, and it's how we get there and who we become as we're getting there and going there. Yeah.
What's the verse? It says persevere so that you can, is it finish the race? Something like that, right? I'm going off the cusp here. I don't have anything in front of me.
Yeah, like finishing the race is the goal.
Yeah. That reminds me of well, because I've never done the sun run before, so I had didn't really look at the map. So I'm bad with land like directions anyway, so I had no concept of how far into the run I was at any point. So I just kept on telling myself, okay, just make it to that next block, or make it to that next person, or make it to the thing. And it's just in reflecting on what you're saying, Doug, it made me think of also that, just make it to the next thing and not, I guess,
the next marker.
Yeah. And keep going.
Yeah. Actually, that's what got me into longer distance running. I was having a conversation with someone. It was for that 10K. He's like, the person I was talking to, he's like, well, 10K is 2 5Ks. I'm like, okay. Like, I guess that's not right. And then he also said, well, half marathon is a little bit more than two 10Ks. Right. And then he's like, a marathon is 2 halves.
He's not wrong. I'm not sure that's going to convince me to run like
you know what?
marathon.
That's exactly what Gwen did. Shout out to Gwen. I think she's listening. Did to kind of rope me in, because she says 0 to 5K is hard. But once you get to 5, if you can do 5K, you can do 6K. If you can do 6K, you can do 8. If you can do 8, you can do 10. And I was like, wait, how did we get from 1K to 10K? And if you can do 10, you can probably do 12.
Yeah.
If you can do 12, you can do 15, which means you can do 21.
To that point of pain tolerance, I think, sure, that's what, like every time you cramp up mid-run, you're like, okay, I recognize this and I know that it will go away. Like I can survive this. And it's almost like I don't know, we all go through highs and valleys through our spiritual walk. And there are moments where we may feel like we're not sure about our relationship with God or where he is, or if we're, I don't know, just that rockiness. And you're like, no, I trust and know scripture says like that he's around and he's here. And the truth is still the truth, even no matter what I feel. So even though I feel extreme pain right now or really uncomfortable right now, the truth is still here and immovable and dependable. So yeah, I think that has been good affirmation from running when I'm not busy dying, but
Well, I'll pick you off of that, because how much, like you said, like when you're running, you feel like you're dying or the struggle is real. Like how much of the running, yes, there's moments where you feel really motivated, right? Like you watched, wow. there's some days you feel a little bit more, maybe, like, right, like you were inspired by someone, you saw someone go for a run, you saw a movie, I don't know, right? But how much of our training in running actually just comes from dedication and not motivation, right? It's not like I feel like I really want to go, when it's freezing outside or like you're really tired and it's dark, like it's really, you don't feel the most motivated, but you're like, no, I signed up for this, right? Like I said I'm going to do this, right? I have that race coming up and I know the training now is going to be useful. It's going to help me later on. So that reflects the Christian walk and the faith, because there are days where I don't feel like living out my faith, right? When the coworker says something or that driver cuts me off, like in those moments, it's like, I don't feel very motivated to be a Christian at this moment, right? And to take it even further, like people around the world that are being persecuted for their faith, right? Like, you know, like there's a lot of time like I don't feel like it in a sense, but then it's that dedication or devotion, or they remember that original commitment to doing what they're going to do. And actually, our Panama missions team, shout out to them as well. They're going to Panama in June, right? And some of them we had a team sharing, and some of them we asked them, oh, how are you feeling? We're a month out, and they're like, you know, this is happening, this is going on, the spiritual battle is real, like all that kind of stuff. But we were reminding each other, like, hey, what's the original call that God placed on you, right? Like, why are you going? Let's write that down and revisit that, right? Because that's the original call and commitment and voice of God that you heard, and that's going to carry you through as you go through the valleys that you mentioned, and through the good and the bad times.
That's good.
I'm trying to digest all that.
And end of sermon.
I don't think we're at the end of the sermon yet. I do think there is something that I learned about myself, about God and running at the same time, and it comes back to kind of what you were talking about with the discipline of it, right? And I think something that's very humbling about this sport overall is I can want or give as much effort as I want, but if I run at 6 minutes a kilometer, which translates into 60 minutes over 10 kilometers, I can't want my way to a 3-minute kilometer tomorrow, right? Which isn't to say that I can't do it someday. Maybe I can, maybe I can't. But that training process has to be day by day, and it has training, and it also has rest.
Yes.
And then it also has nutrition, and then it has to be over a longer period of time, right? And there's no shortcuts around that outside of you hopping on like a bike, right? which isn't really running anyway. And so like what that kind of taught me was like sometimes we especially us that have been at church for a while, we've been to church retreats, we've been to missions trips even, or winter conferences, and then we get that kind of spiritual high and we think like, you know, this year my life's going to be different. I'm going to be much more devoted to all the ministries, all the Bible studies, all my devotions, you know, here it is, right? But that, in the same way that I can't run that 30-minute 10K,
that's good.
Like setting it up to plan for it to happen tomorrow is kind of like a plan to fail, right? And then what's worse is you end up beating yourself up because you're like, oh well, like I set these plans to read 18 devotions every day, and I only read 6, and you know, now I'm a crummy Christian, and you know, you kind of fall into that hole, right? But the problem was actually, hey, how do you set realistic expectations for yourself so that you can kind of ease into it, and you will get those highs just like you get in running where you surge and you're like, oh, suddenly I want to do 10 kilometers a day, right? Like Joanne, you went from, you know, doing, you know, I think it was like 1 or 2 runs, maybe 2 to 5K, something like that. And then you got a high and you jump to the 10, right? But that doesn't happen every day. And it's not a matter of how much we want it. Right? Like I can, and I think we sometimes confuse ourselves with like will versus like ability. And ability can be chiseled, can be earned the same way we grow muscles, right? But that's kind of what I kind of see as what running has taught me, even though my personal characteristics do not align with running at all. I am impatient. I've always hated cardio. I bumped into my old trainer the other day, and he was super surprised because he always said I needed to do cardio, and now all I do is cardio. I don't do anything else. Right? Like I can't do anything laterally. Like we played basketball last night. I can't throw a ball. I have no upper body strength whatsoever.
Yes, Sam and I were playing basketball. I said I can only run straight. I have no lateral strength. Right? I can't cut. I can't. So I'm just going straight. Okay, like
we can only go straight.
Well, that's something.
So like moving that along, like when I talk to you, both of you individually, you talk a lot about like trying to do hard things, and this in itself is, I forgot the word that we use for this, for people who like to inflict pain on themselves. There's a word for that. Yeah, I think
I don't know.
I think you're right. So I guess first of all, why hard things? And where I got the idea for this question is really from Doug's Instagram post. Doug's kind of been musing about his marathon, and he had this really cool interaction with Ryan, his daughter, talking about hard things. So I don't know if you want to share that story or make people go read and like and subscribe. But like where we are at is like why do you do hard things, and then how do we actually do them?
Okay, I can go.
Go ahead.
Sure.
Okay, why do we do hard things?
Mhm.
I think it goes back to what I shared earlier with like stressing our bodies, right? So why I'm doing hard things, it's more of like to be quite honest, I'm not a professional runner, total non-elite, amateur to the amateur, like, you know, right? Like I'm not anywhere near there, right? So at the end of the day, like my running, quote unquote, really doesn't matter, right? Like I'm not changing the world or shifting things, right? But really doing it for myself in terms of just to see whether I can, right? And also all the things that we've been sharing about what I've learned, because I really think the running metaphor, the illustration of running really illustrates the Christian faith well for me, right? It resonates as I'm going out for my run. But the hard things is more of, it's just to see whether I can do it, yes, but also is training myself for when it really does matter. So like right, whether I finished a marathon or not, like I had
Are
that
you
thought.
training for a zombie apocalypse?
What? It's the mindset, like really, right? And you never know. And I'm telling you, Costco is
Outrun a
where
bear.
everyone's gonna go to Costco. Well, that's that's where.
It's true. You'll be the first one there.
Yeah. But it's to train myself to push through. If I can, I guess here's the thought: like if I can push myself through the training and through the marathon, through something that really doesn't matter too much to me, in a sense of, if at 35K I got really tired and I hopped on a bus and went home, like I mean, besides my pride being hurt, like I don't know, like what else is gonna, like, right? Like my family's living doesn't depend on it, my reputation, you know, right? So but here's the thing, I push through because it's this training of, if I can handle this, something that doesn't matter really that much in the sense of like my daily living, then when, I don't know, I need to have that hard conversation, or I need to summon up that extra strength to look after someone, or the times when I really need to show up for something, right? Those are the moments that I'm training for. So maybe it's hypothetical, but really not really, because we all go through those hard moments. So if I willingly put myself into these moments to stress myself to a point that I can handle it, it's um, the whole verse of like physical training is good, but spiritual training is even better, right? So there's a spiritual gain that I have. The spiritual gains are real when I'm going through the physical. Like it's not so much about the physical. So that's what I'm thinking about actually when I'm running and it's hard and I want to quit. I'm thinking about, hey, I'm teaching my kids, like you mentioned at the end, Ryan. It was kind of funny because my Jess and two of my kids surprised me at the finish line. I thought they weren't going to make it, but they show up, and you could tell my youngest, 3 years old, had no idea why. He's like, "Why are people running? Where are they going? Like, what's he's
Where are
just
they
kinda
running
looking around.
from?
What are they running from or for?"
Nice.
At the end, he just wanted the bag of chips I had in my bag, like, you know, that had snacks, right? But then when my daughter Ryan asked me, like, "Oh, like, Daddy, why are you running for so long?" And I was sharing with her in the more simplified version of like, just to see whether I can do hard things, and it's making me better, and it's to, I don't know, exemplify to my family that you can do hard things too, whatever the hard things is. And she mentioned to me after that, I didn't share this in my post, but she was like, "Oh, I have a a dance performance coming up, and that's hard." Right? I'm like, "Yeah, you can do it." Like, right? Like, you know, like that's so it's having a little conversation like that is,
Yeah.
it's more than the medals that you talk about, Sam, in the beginning, which goes in my closet in a bag.
I think I have one at my feet. Participatory medals.
Nice.
Anything you want to add to that, Joe?
The self, I guess. Oh, wow, that was just a bunch of noises. Why do I try to do hard? I think lately I've been doing in the season of doing a bunch of challenging things for me personally, and a lot of it has come down to control and surrendering control and growing my faith muscle in that way of like so much, especially in the stage of life that I am in now. Like I went back to school, but I have settled in my career. I'm like I was in a season of things are pretty settled and comfortable. And then now lately in this season of doing hard things and doing uncomfortable things, it's really pushed me to be uncomfortable again and trust that God will carry me through whatever it looks like, and in whether it's running or doing various hard things. Oh, it's okay. I don't need to control everything because I can't anyway. It's an illusion that you're tricking yourself if you think you have control over anything. And so I don't know. It's been a good reminder of it's gonna be okay, come what may. Yeah.
Yeah, and then translate, like connecting it back to you mentioned about the course, right? Like the course has been set out for us, right? When you're running, it's like I don't get to choose what the sun run course is going to be. Like it's already like I mean, you could run.
I would have chose all downhill, but I didn't get to say in that. I just showed up and ran.
I do vaguely remember you asking me like where the course was, and I had no idea.
Yeah,
I heard they did change it again this year.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Nothing to compare it to. Just like in this life, I'm like, I have just this, and I will try and run it as best I can.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So switching gears a little. Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, you go first.
Well, my last thought is on this is when you're doing the hard things, what translates over for me is that like this hard thing or this pain or this struggle, like the cliche of like this too shall pass, right? Like there's that kind of feeling like, I'm doing sprints around the track, or it's the last kilometer of this race. The pain, like it's not going to be forever, right? Like it's, hopefully, like don't like run within your limits, like, right? So like don't like go to a point where, right? But in the sense of like is that mindset of this too shall pass, and when you look back, it's like, are you proud of your effort, right? Like did you give your all? It's not comparison to the other person, but in that moment, like that was your all, and then you can be proud of it. Like that was the course that you ran and you did your best. And yeah, so another humbling part is there's always someone faster and someone slower, right? It seems like that way, right? So it's humbling. Just run my own pace, like run my own race. Just embrace it. Like this is where I'm at, and come what may, right? Like it is what it is right now, and to learn to be content. That's been another lesson.
So many lessons here. I think we may need to take notes.
You can watch it back.
So the last thing I'll want to talk a little bit about is just as a church community as a whole, and as leaders of this church community here at Lord's Love, what do you see are some of the hard things or challenges that our church community is kind of working toward overcoming? And this is, I guess, you can be as transparent as you like. Like obviously we talk a lot about our worries or concerns in leadership meetings and things like that, and but also how to move ahead, right? And so what can you kind of share that you really see that our church community is having to work towards, and it can be a challenge?
Go ahead, Joanne. I know you have thoughts.
So many. I mean, to some degree, our church, any church community, but our church community specifically, we're always going to be working through challenges because devil doesn't like it when there are good things happening and you're living to glorify God. So we can always expect that there will be hard things for us as a community to overcome. It's just a matter of whether or not we choose to overcome together or not. And I think there's, maybe in this current season, the celebratory thing is that we are, I think, in a bit of growth in terms of numbers. There's tons of new families, and that's awesome. But then, hey, how do we share this space effectively? How do we make sure that we are taking care of our families and grow and investing in this new generation well? And that is new territory for our church. Like, we really, I was talking to you, Francis, I think, about how like Naomi and Cohen are our first batch of kids, basically, that have grown up as part of English ministry. And just that there's, and then all these, and we've like, our ministries have been developing along the way with as they grow. And there's a lot of, I guess, as a community, we are just learning to give each other grace in that learning process and growing process. And there's more of that to come. So I don't know, learning to give grace for one another as we learn together and grow together is yeah.
I'm thinking of well, where my mind is going is just the challenges of the Western church. Like that's kind of where my first thought is. Like in general, like I think a challenge for a church in Vancouver and in the West, like Canada, it is the comfort, right? Like like the goal in our society is to be comfortable, right? So that idea of, hey, why would I willingly run into something that causes discomfort is already abrasive, like that thought. So I think that's a challenge that as a church, I'm not saying like I think we're aware of it, and I think as Christians we are aware of that comfort, right? So I think that's a challenge though that we need to constantly fight against and push, right? That desire to be comfortable and to do what I think is best for myself, instead of asking God, like, where are you calling me? Where are you placing me? What's the purpose I'm here? Like, those are different questions. And then the other one, and I don't take credit for this. I just watched a recording yesterday of John Mark Comer for Practicing the Way. They just released the community, what do you call it? Track or the 4 topics about community. And he was just talking about how, like, yeah, like us, like our society in the West is built towards catering to individualism, right? Like we all have our own homes, we have our own things, like consumeristic, consumerism, yeah, right, that kind of thing. So I think that's a challenge for communities. Like, how do we as Christians live in community with each other, right? When in our society everything is apart and we all do things individually instead of communally, or in the first century kind of idea of collectivism and family and gathering. Like, it's a very different time, right? And Jesus talks so much about the church being a family, but yet for us, we don't have that experience, right? Because even for us then, I think they mentioned that families back in first century, like Judaism, like even when they got married and moved out, like they were actually pretty close to each other still. Like they were kind of just like within a walking distance, right? But now it's like we're moving cities and countries, and like, you know, we're just, so the whole idea of family is very different. And I think the church feels that tension, right? So we go out in the world and culturally there's this individualism that goes on, that we feel that tension, and we come in and we feel it, right? It's like, oh man, I gotta come on this night to something, and when I have all these things going on, which is fair, right? But then the whole idea of like even sharing something, right? Because instead of having one family live together, we break up, say, into 4. So instead of one rice cooker, we have 4 now individual,
or even
rice
hot pot,
cookers, or
the most communal thing in the world. Now we have our individual pots.
Right. Exactly,
oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think one of the greatest challenges and hard things is, what does it look like for us to be together, right, as a church? And we talk about life groups, we talk about fellowship, we talk about any gathering. Like, that's a challenge, because everything I think in the world is having us fight against that, and we're raised in this kind of culture. End of sermon again.
See what happens when we talk about running? All right, so we're approaching. I can't remember if I said it'd be 45 minutes or an hour, but we're approaching 8 o'clock. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna go through some announcements for us, but I can't remember all of them. So hopefully you can call me out when I miss them. So first of all, we do have our weekly prayer meetings. They are on Zoom. Other than I think it was like once a month, we do have it in person.
It says
Um,
April 16th.
oh, sorry, I typed that wrong. Let me change it in real time. We're on May.
It's like the newsletter I sent out today that I said I'll be
Yes.
gone in August.
Oh,
And that, yeah, it's supposed to be May, but my mind is already at the end of the year.
So on that note, Reverend Doug is going to be away, I guess, starting Friday, right?
Yeah.
Starting
Well,
Friday.
Saturday
through to the end of the month.
wait,
If my
sorry.
math-
I'm so sorry, but prayer meeting. It's tonight, right? In like 9 minutes?
Oh no, it's not. It's not now. It's not now.
But-
I messed up the date.
Okay, great.
Okay,
This is why we need a producer.
We're back on track. We're back on track.
Sorry.
I was looking at June or something.
That makes sense. Okay, and Doug's gonna be away.
Anyway, Doug's gonna be away. We're still gonna pray. Something
It's
else
for
that
your
rhymes.
convocation, right?
Yes, it's for the convocation is the excuse for our family trip.
Yes.
We will
Yes.
tune in and celebrate.
Thank
Whatever works. But if any of what we've talked about has resonated with you and you've decided tomorrow you're going to run a 30-minute 10K, kudos
Do
to
it.
you.
It won't be fun, but you might be glad you did
It'll
it.
be loads of fun for me to watch.
I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not gonna be fun. But that's okay.
But,
You can do
but
hard
our
things.
outdoor run club does have an upcoming run. There's also going to be a scavenger hunt for the kids. I believe the run is 7 or 8 kilometers. But there's also going to be activities at the park. I think we're just going to make it kind of like a social thing. So regardless of if you've never run before, you're ready to do a 50K or whatnot, Ben's going to be leading that. Terra Nova Park, I believe, is in Richmond somewhere. I haven't Googled this.
Yeah.
But it
Along
is
River Road.
Yeah. So if it's in Richmond, it's going to be flat. Flat is good.
And picturesque.
If running's not your thing and you like the waters more, we're also going as a group paddleboarding. There's the Google form. I realize you guys can't actually click it, so I'm going to type it into the chat as well. And we do need a head count for this. If you want to come paddleboarding with us, it's going to be at Jericho Beach on June 21st. There's the Google form to fill out and sign your life away. Any other announcements before I jump into shout outs? Maybe Joanne, you can do birthdays.
Sure. Okay, well, happy birthday. I won't sing at you. You won't like that. But happy birthday to our May babies, which is Eunice Lai, Connie Ma, Janita, who's outside Sam's home, well, some room somewhere, but happy birthday, Janita. And Evelyn, and wow, why did we stop with the last names? Evelyn Ma, Janita Wong, Stephen.
There's no other Janitas in my heart.
Oh.
or anywhere else, to be quite honest.
Great whatever. Yes, good job, Sam. And Naomi Chia. Yay! Yes. Round of applause for all the
Happy
babies.
birthday.
I hope that you feel celebrated and loved and surrounded with joy on your birthday. And in your birthday
also had it in our directory. It's your cat's birthday.
Oh yes, it was his birthday. A couple days ago, and he's 9.
You seem very pleased.
Birthday to Paul. Yeah, because I think she voted in our directory as a test.
Yeah, he's a test in the. Yes, now everyone knows. Yep.
All right. Other shout outs we want to give. We recently finished our mural downstairs, so wanted to shout out Innes and the team that kind of helped paint out that vision. Queenie, Joyce, Jess, thank you for all that you do. It does look really cool. Yeah. And every time I look at a finished mural, I can never imagine like how it was made, which is dumb because I saw it being made, but I still can't imagine. Like, I'm like, there's no way this could be like reality.
I love all the little details because it's like every time you look at it, you discover something new. like reading the Bible. Anyways, sorry.
Actually,
Well, no.
the bureau's annotated, so you can go around and just little notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you can go
there's
up to it and read.
That was
Easter
an
eggs.
addition. Yeah.
Ooh, I like that. All right, so go check out what the Easter eggs are. Also, I talked to Brian and Eunice, who are captains of our Pentasport team. They played a hard-fought battle last night, and I asked them for some MVPs and just shoutouts. So she mentioned Ed, Anthony, Doug for some timely rebounds.
Ooh.
Eunice had a sweet jumper, and Heidi.
Ooh.
Oh my gosh, Heidi. So I don't know if anybody from Penta is watching this, but you should be watching this if you're not watching this now. Heidi made the craziest shot I've ever seen in live in my life. Maybe Doug's as well. So we're gonna watch this live.
This is gonna be the play of the season, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know if you can see my mouse. This is Heidi.
What? Whoa!
It's not just that she makes the shot. Heidi's made shots before. It's that she decided to change sports halfway from basketball into shot put.
Yeah.
And then just decide to make it anyway.
But she also did that so casually.
Yeah, just like
You're like, no big deal.
No big deal. And you can I can't zoom in here, but you can see like I'm here, hands in head.
Yeah,
Doug's
you're
celebrating
like
we won the Super Bowl. Crazy. So shout out to Heidi. This made our nights.
I feel like you guys should always feature these Penta game reviews. Awesome.
So
Good
that
job,
was the greatest shot I've ever seen live. So shout out to Heidi. All right, so we've made it to the end. Our next family gathering, I believe, unless I've typed the date and the time wrong again, should be June 11th at 7. But just in case I'm wrong, which I always am, please just subscribe and you'll get pinged yourself when it comes on. All right. Any last notes before we let Doug get to his meeting? All right. It's been fun. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you again June 11th.
See you Sunday. Bye.
Bye.